Welcome to Indy's Real Estate Gurus. We're recording today from the Advisors Mortgage Group studio right here in downtown Carmel. And I'm Rick Rittman, your hardworking mortgage guy. I've been in mortgages and real estate for over 34 years. I've helped over 5,200 folks finance their homes.
And I'm Ian Arnold, part of Rick's hardworking mortgage team. I've been in the financial industry for 15 years, helping customers rebuild their credit or even get a better score just so you can get a better interest rate. I have a passion in helping you secure your overall real estate dreams and build your wealth for your future.
And as we get started today, I wanted to remind you, for any of your real estate needs, if you have any questions on real estate, Indiana real estate, or mortgages, please call 317-672-1938. That's 317-672-1938. Or you can go online to hardworkingmortgageguys.com. That's hardworkingmortgageguys.com. And we are really excited to have Ryan, and it's Foxworthy, correct?
Correct, yes.
I should have asked. Any relation to the car?
It's funny, to the comedian or to the cars.
Oh, either one.
Well, so that's usually people say, are you related to Jeff Foxworthy, the famous comedian?
And you know, I'm
response
interested
to
in
that
cars.
is always no, but my uncle is Jeff Foxworthy, just not that Jeff Foxworthy. So my uncle is Jeff Foxworthy. But as far as the car dealership, yeah, that was my grandfather's brother who owned that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, that's how I know Foxworthy.
Yeah, Foxworthy Ford.
Yeah, Foxworthy Ford.
96th and Keystone, right? That's where it was.
Foxworthy Ford was
Yeah, I
96
think so.
at Keystone. Yeah. And now it's a Tom Wood, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. So thanks for joining us. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. This will be great.
So before we get into the real estate part, what'd you do before? Did you jump right in? Where'd you go to school and stuff?
I wish I would have jumped right in. My story is kind of interesting. So I'm from Carmel originally. Went to Carmel High School, played soccer there. Then I went to Butler, played soccer at Butler. So I've always had that competitive nature to me. I then moved to Chicago when I was 25. Did the Chicago thing for 3 years. Decided to come back here. And when I came back, I had been working in Chicago at a market research company. Excuse me. And I was young. I was 28. So I just needed a job. I wanted to come back here because my family was here. I've got an identical twin brother named Brian, who I wanted to be around more. So I came back home, literally Googled market research company in Indiana or in Carmel, and happened to come across one, was with them for 9 years. That one fizzled out because we were merging with another company. That company, for the 6 months leading up to the merger, told everyone, smooth transaction, you're all moving forward with us, good to go. 3 days before the merger was set to take place, they brought 7 of us into the boardroom and said, sorry, there's just not enough in the pipeline. Unfortunately, you got to clear your desk. You got to go. I was in shock. I had 2 kids at the time with one on the way. What am I going to do? So quickly, I ended up going and working with Angie's List because I had friends that worked there, and it was a job, right? So I did that for 9 months as an account manager, and then had an opportunity to run a sales team for a startup company that did machinery and equipment appraisals and business valuations. It's a very small company. We never had more than 5 people in the in our company. Did that for 3 years. Another unfortunate situation where I came into the office one day and the owner, who was literally just our money guy, he didn't know a darn thing about our business. He basically called me up and said, hey, I pay you the most money, and unfortunately we're not making the money we need to be, so I need to let you go.
Wow, that's a great reason, isn't it?
Yeah. So that happened to actually be, this is how I got into residential. So that happened to be the same day that my dad was taken into the hospital. He was taken into the hospital for a blood clot to get removed out of his leg or something. And I called him up, and he was in this hospital bed getting ready for the procedure, whatever. And we were just talking. What are you going to do? Like, or what am I supposed to do, Dad? I don't know. You know, I've got 3 kids. I've got a wife. Like, I got all this to do. And he started spitting out some ideas, and he finally said, well, what about real estate? You got your license back in 2009. I got it back in 2009 when a lot of my friends are in commercial. So at the time I was like, okay, I'll do it. Like, I had friends tell me, just get it and get it, get in the business.
Right.
So I never did anything with it. So I ended up getting, I was talking to my dad about it. He said, what about real estate? I'm like, it's 1099. I'm a W-2. Like, I need the steady income. That makes me nervous to have to rely on myself. So we were talking about it or whatever, and then he was due for surgery the next day, and I actually ended up going in. Since I didn't have a job, I went into the hospital to be with him. And before I even got into the hospital, his room, the doctor said, before you go in there, I need to chat with you, and your stepmom's down there in the waiting room, and your twin brother's down there. I'm like, okay, like what's the deal? So we went down the waiting room, and they said, your dad is not going to make it through the weekend. Wait, what? Like, what do you mean he's not going to make it through the weekend? He apparently overnight just was really like struggled and just took a turn for the worse. So this blood clot turned into this regular blood clot procedure turned into your dad's not going to make it through the weekend. Wow. You need to get your sister, my half sister who lived in the Dominican Republic at the time, had just flown back because my dad was like, just go back. It's fine. It's just a routine procedure. Called her up. She got on a flight back immediately. Long story short, my dad ended up passing away that Sunday. Wow. So right after that, I was like, you know what? Like, and I was still not only dealing with not having a job, but then I lost my dad, who I was extremely close to. And my dad was in commercial real estate. He worked with Simon he helped start Simon with Mel and Herb Simon.
Really? Wow.
Oh yeah. He was he worked with them for 25 plus years. So after he passed and I kind of processed all that, I said, you know what? Like Dad said, do it. Like give it a try. So I literally went to Tucker School of Real Estate, did the class. The next 2 months or so, I was real estate 24/7. Like that's all I did. Woke up, studied, went to class, studied that night when I got home for the next day. And I got into it. And I started in May of 2019 and I have not looked back since. And I've loved this. I mean, everyone says that they have crazy deals in real estate and like it's very emotional, which it is, but I have loved every second of it. And I wish I would have started this when I got out of college. I'm actually prepping my son, who's 12, to get into real estate because he'll go with me on some appointments and I'll have him look at the BLC sheet just to tell me how many bedrooms and just to kind of get him accustomed to it, because I think the industry in general is amazing. And there's so much pleasure out of helping a buyer or helping a seller. And from a financial standpoint, it's amazing as well too. So that's how I got into it. So yeah, so I went from W-2 jobs to being 1099 and here we are and loved every second of it.
Yes.
Oh, I was going to tell you. So if your kid at start goes, hey, I don't want to do real estate, guess what? Don't think too much of it, because guess what? From what we hear, everybody comes back sooner or later.
I could see that. Fortunately for me, my son, it's funny. Like when I'll call, so he lives with his mom, and when I talk to him every single night after soccer practice or school or whatever, he'll always ask me, did you get that house for your buyers, or did you, when are you going to go live? Like he's starting to talk the way realtors talk, just because he hears me talking about it so much. So I don't know. I'm hoping that he follows in his dad's footsteps, and my hope down the road, best case scenario, he joins my team or joins a team with me, and we work together. Right. I would love that.
Yeah. It's awesome to have that happen, and it's also very good for your son, because even if he doesn't get into real estate, he's been able to spend a lot of time with you.
Yeah.
And he knows what real estate's about. And like Ian says, what we found is a lot of people, the kid goes, no, I'm not doing real estate. And they go somewhere and they do something else. And then they come right back around at some point, kind of like what you did. You avoided it, and then you came back around.
Yeah, and then I came back. And for me too, I didn't want to, when I decided on getting into real estate, I didn't want to, I could have done what most people do and go on monster.com and find a job that way. But then I'm like, because this was 40 when I was let go from that other job, because I'm 45 now, almost 46. And I said, you know what, I could go into monster.com, but what, I'm going to get a job and I'll be there till I'm 50 maybe. And then that owner decides that they don't want me, and then I'm 50,
right,
jobless. It's going to be more challenging. So for me, it was like, I'm going to control my own destiny. And everyone says when you're a realtor, you don't have a boss, which is great. But at the end of the day, I look at all my clients as my boss. So I do have many bosses. But I wanted to put myself in a position with, as hard as I know that I work and as competitive as I am, I knew that as long as I continue to build those relationships with my friends and just potential clients, sky was the limit for me. And I've been blessed these first 4 years to have a lot of transactions and easy, I don't want to say easy transactions, but Not as complicated. Now, mind you, the market had something to do with that the last 2 years because it wasn't hard to sell a house. But at the end of the day, it was one of those decisions where I wish I would have done this 20 years ago.
So what did you do to first start get going? Because I mean, you went from a total different industry to this.
Yeah, when I first joined Tucker, that's who I was with when I first started. I got on Facebook, Instagram, and just let everybody know, hey, this is what I'm doing now. I know I'm new, but give me the opportunity, and I will show you that I'm going to be good at what I do. I just need that opportunity. So I was social media posts. It was just, getting out more with friends and just letting everybody know that this is what I do. And I take this very seriously. I didn't go into this part-time. I was fortunate enough where I didn't have to have another job while trying to navigate real estate. So I went full steam ahead, and I told everyone, like, this is all I'm going to do. So if you decide to use me for helping you buy a house or sell a house, you will be my priority. So it was just a matter of getting everybody aware of my new job change, if you will.
Yeah. And that obviously is very important. It's one of the hardest things for new people to do, because you got to change the mindset of the person who knows you as something else to know you as a real estate agent. Yeah. Because when they decide to list their house or buy a house, they have to think of you.
100%.
And if they don't, they use somebody else, and you're like, what happened? Well, it's because they don't remember you're a real estate agent, right?
And it's funny that I do quite a bit on social media. I don't get into like the TikTok and all that kind of stuff, but I'm one of those that when it comes to, social media, I'm posting something social media or not, but real estate related, whether it's, I try not to do the salesy stuff where it's like, hey, I just got a new listing, or hey, I just helped this buyer buy this house. I mean, I do that just to make sure all of my friends know that I'm still actually doing transactions, but I try to provide more value to people. Like, these are the things it's May 1st. These are the things you should do to your house to get it ready for the spring and things like that. Because no one, at the end of the day, you guys, nobody cares that I just sold another house.
No.
Nobody cares that I just listed another house. There's no other profession out there that is going out talking or showing their friends on Facebook or Instagram or what have you, that they just, did this or that or the other at their job. Like, so for me, it's more just staying in front of people instead of having to, I'm not one of those that's going to make a bunch of phone calls. That's just not, I don't feel comfortable doing that. I don't want to ever come off as salesy. So for me, just to go out there and provide value to people via social media, that's kind of the approach that I've taken, because it's done well for me. I only have one person that gives me flack about my social media posting, and that happens to be my twin brother. And he will listen to this. I'm sure he will. But that's just, we're identical twins.
That's family.
That's family.
That's
right?
different.
Right. And it's constructive criticism, but he just doesn't get it. He works in commercial real estate. He doesn't have to earn his clients' business like I do in real estate. So I try to get him to understand that. But at the end of the day, for me, it's just posting on social media, talking to friends, getting out at more events, going out to dinner more often with my fiance and in Carmel, because I'd like to focus on Carmel, Zionsville, Westfield, like the far north side, getting out so people see me, and then just hope that turns into conversation, which then turns into deals, right? Or transactions. Because I don't ever want to come off, I don't ever want to be walking down the street or going to a dinner or a party or something, and somebody's like, oh, there's Ryan, he's going to talk about real estate. I don't want that.
Yep. So, hey, all you have to do is say, that wasn't me, that was you. You just don't remember it.
That's exactly right. And I agree with you 100% on that, for sure.
All right, Ryan. So if somebody wanted to get in touch with you about buying or selling a home, how would they do that?
The best is probably text. My cell phone is 317-701-0526, or you can email me at ryan.foxworthy@talktotucker.com. My phone is unfortunately glued to my hip. And one thing that I pride myself on is responding quickly. Since we've sat down, I've probably had 3 phone calls, and I hate that I can't respond to them and say, hey, I'm on a podcast right now, I'll get back to you in an hour. But yeah, so it's my cell phone's probably the best way, either call or text or email.
Yeah. All right. And Rick,
I understand that.
How would someone get hold of you or I?
Oh, they'd probably go to hardworkingmortgageguys.com. That's hardworkingmortgageguys.com, or they can call 317-672-1938. That's 317-672-1938.
All right.
You ready for me to do the rest of it?
Yeah.
See, he always looks at me like that, and you'd think I'd be ready.
Hey, our advertising people need this.
Yeah, our advertising budget, we gotta put this in.
You
Thanks
got
for
to.
listening to Indy's Real Estate Gurus. The gurus we interview share valuable insights. They reveal their strengths, personalities, and how they'll work for you. While we hardworking mortgage guys secure your best mortgage, real estate gurus work hard too. They avoid problems the amateurs don't see. They listen and they find unrealized opportunities. If you're buying or selling a home, a real estate guru is a valuable asset. If you're even thinking of buying or selling a home, keep listening and definitely call one of Indy's real estate gurus. And so I know that because everybody's told us that there's a lot of, I said you can find unrealized opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
Tell people what I'm talking about when I say there's unrealized opportunities that an agent might be able to help them find.
As far as like inventory and that sort of thing.
Yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously we know that the biggest hurdle right now for buyers is the lack of inventory. If we came into this, as we approach the spring market, most agents out there assume that, with historically speaking, most sellers are starting to put their houses on the market in the springtime. So we're all kind of telling our buyers, like, just give it a little bit of time. There'll be more houses that hit the market this spring. Well, unfortunately, we have actually less houses for sale than what we expected it to be. So finding that inventory is a challenge. So for me, finding those needles in a haystack, if you will, are all about my relationships that I've built over the years, the last 4 years with other agents that might have more years in the business, that have people that they know that would be willing to sell, and just try and find those off-market deals. Right. So it's not, you can't just sit around and wait for your search on the BLC to send a new house to the buyer, because once that happens, there's probably, if we're talking like West Carmel, once a house hits the market, there's probably 75 other buyers that want that same house. So you got to find ways to get in front of the masses and get yourself into those homes pre-market to try and get your buyers the house. Because at the end of the day, we get paid a good amount of money, and we can't just sit there and wait. Like, we have to go above and beyond and provide value. And in doing that, one of the biggest ways is trying to find these off-market deals. Now, they're not easily as easy to get or come by, but at the end of the day, if you can find one, you're looking like a saint to your buyer if you can find an off-market deal. So
yeah. And I know there's certain areas. Now, my son lives in Chicago.
Yep.
And in the area he bought, it's called Beverly. And Beverly, most of the houses are sold are off-market houses. Okay, they're you have to get into that, and it goes from family to family and those type of things. So her parents live there, her sister lives there. They got with a real estate agent there, and that's how they ended up with their house. Otherwise, they would have, if they hadn't gotten with a real estate agent, you'd never get a house because there's never any that come on the market.
It's tough. I mean, it's a challenge. Like, I've got a buyer right now that I'm working with from California. We put an offer on a house the other day. We didn't get it, even though we came in really strong. But there's another house that just hit the market yesterday that I'm already aware that has 46 showings scheduled for between today and tomorrow.
That's it? Only 46?
Yeah, 46 showings. I mean,
Goodness.
So they asked me, what's it going to take? And I said, your best. Like, you're going to have to go pretty high in order to get this house. It's about setting expectations with buyers, right? That's one thing that I pride myself on. Like, do I have buyer consultations, like where I meet them at their house or at a restaurant? Not necessarily. It's usually, in this market, things happen very quickly. So I'm usually just talking to them over the phone as far as what their wish list is, what they're looking for, and then explain to them what this market looks like. The fact that when a house hits the market, you got to be ready to act and act fast, because the days of agents putting on the BLC that all offers will be, reviewed or must be in by 5:00 on Sunday. Some agents are still doing that, but for the most part, if a good offer comes in, agents are acting, or the listing agents are acting, and sellers are acting fast. So you have to be prepared and prepare your buyers to move quickly, right? So this house that just hit the market yesterday, they're starting showings this afternoon, and as soon as I'm done with this, I'm going over to that house to look at it. You got to act fast in this market, and it's about setting that expectation and talking to your buyers and sellers about that.
All right, so let's take a little side step.
Uh-oh.
So if I had to take away your phone that's been going off constantly because you're in high demand,
yeah.
what would you be doing for the next let's say the 24 hours?
Probably hyperventilating if I don't have my phone on me. Honestly, like with, I'd probably spend a lot of time with my kids. I've got 3 kids. I've got a 12-year-old son who's almost 13, 10-year-old daughter who's almost 11, and then I have a 9-year-old daughter. So they keep me busy. They're with their mom more than they're with me. So whenever I have the time, whether it's, getting my girls to or from cheer practice or going to one of their events, or my son, my little mini-me, to and from soccer practice. This weekend we go to Lexington on Saturday, drive home that Saturday night and go to Dayton on Sunday. So a lot of will revolve around my kids, but also my fiance too. We're planning a wedding for August 12th of this year. So that's
congratulations.
Thank you. I appreciate it. That's like a full-time job in of itself to just get a wedding planned and all that. Yes. So, but we like to go out and I don't want to say we're homebodies, but we like to go out to dinner at least and do like a date night at least once a week. Like I said earlier, going somewhere in downtown Carmel, whether it's, any of those restaurants, and just hang out with people, right? And just, it's, you gotta love the Sun King area you take my kids there and hang out. And, so it's just spend time with my kids. And also if I don't have my phone on me, I'm also just listening to podcasts. Like, I'm all about education. Listen, I've only been doing this for 4 years. I still consider myself a newbie. And while I think I'm confident in my abilities to get transactions to the closing table, there's something for me to learn every single day, right? I just learned something new today. I won't get into it, but when it comes to real estate. So I like to listen to at least one podcast a day at a minimum, whether that's when I'm at the gym on the treadmill or whatnot, whether it's your podcast or another real estate podcast. I'm always trying to gather at least one new nugget every day. Because again, one thing that I have going for me too is like my buyers from California that I'm working with, they actually, when they talked to me today, they said, Ryan, we just really appreciate your professionalism and knowledge of the market, especially for us being that we're not there, we're in California. So I appreciate comments like that because it shows that the work that I'm putting into it with listening to podcasts, talking to other agents while I'm in the office, just calling other agents and just chatting with them and saying, hey, how's business? Like, what do you got going on? Like, what do you have coming up? Tell me about a transaction you've had recently where there was an issue and how did you get through it? I'd love to have conversations with agents about that because you got to learn, we're always going to be learning. And the day I say that I have nothing else to learn in this business, I might as well retire because there's always something to learn.
Yeah. So you said you guys like going to restaurants and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
What's your favorite one to go to?
My favorite one?
Yeah.
I'm a big sushi guy. So God, what is the name of it? Right here in downtown Carmel. It's Monterey.
Monterey.
Is it Monterey? Yeah, that's a really good one. I love that one. My fiance is a big Mexican food person. She loves her margaritas, so we'll go to Social Cantina. We enjoy that one. But even like Puccini's, like the pizza restaurant, like anything over there, listen, you put me in downtown Carmel, I can find a restaurant any day of the week, a different restaurant, Yeah. And that's one thing and I just don't live far from downtown Carmel. So it's convenient for us and it's open and the kids can run around and have fun and all the stuff they have going on there. So I'd say Monterey's a good one. Yeah. I like Anthony's though too.
Just don't mention Puccini's around my kids. They love that theme song, and I'll hear it for the next day and a half.
Really?
Yep.
I don't even know if I know the theme song.
Me either. I've never heard
pizza, pasta, Puccini's, and they'll just keep saying it.
I don't think I've ever even heard that.
Oh.
You know what's crazy though? My ex-wife, her mom, so my ex-mother-in-law, she actually does so if you go into a Puccini's and you see all the photos on the wall, all their advertising, all their menus, she's the one that designed all that stuff. So,
oh wow.
So when I was with my ex-wife, we got like a 50% discount. I don't get that discount anymore.
Now you get charged extra.
They took it away. Now now it's like they're charging me extra, but no. So no, but Puccini's is great. My kids love it. I love their ranch dressing. It's so
That's awesome.
But I'm also on that wedding diet, if you will. So I'm trying to be more mindful of what I eat. So, I'm more of like a high protein, steak, chicken, salmon type of guy right now. So we'll see.
So I know you just got, you haven't been in the business for a long time. 4 or 5 years. So do you have a team or are you thinking about a team or?
I don't have a team. Of course it's something that I've thought about and I continue to think about. I think that I wanted to, I obviously want to scale my business, right? So if you're not scaling, you're not growing, right? So I want to scale it. So in order to do that, you've got to get some help and allow people to do the things that aren't really helping you make money, as far as like the transactional stuff, like the signing of documents and all that kind of stuff. I wanted to get to a point where I knew how to do everything like to a T, and I was comfortable with it all, but also get to a point where I was so busy that I just almost couldn't sleep at night. The way I work with my clients, I'm very hands-on. For right now, at least, I want them to feel like when they do call me or text me or email me, they're getting me. Down the road, I think that hiring a transaction coordinator is in my wheelhouse. I mean, obviously I talked about maybe bringing my son on board if he wants to do this down the road. I've had conversations with one other agent in particular that talked about maybe partnering up to have a kind of a partnership, if you will. But for right now, like I hate to say that I'm new because I've got 4 years in the business, but I am very controlling when it comes to my transactions, and I'm very if something goes wrong, like here's the thing. There's two types of relationship in my eyes. There's two types of agents in this business. There's transactional and there's relational. And trust me, there's both, because I've worked with both of them. I'm 100% through and through relational. I care more about my clients' well-being than I do about that commission. Once you start chasing that money, you're doing yourself a disservice. So I had one buyer that I finally was able to get under contract. Well, this was about a year ago, but she was working with an agent that had been in the business for a really long time, well known. Went to see a house with this individual, and long story short, I had been working with these guys, but for whatever reason, they went with this other agent, and I was just kind of taken back by it. But they finally told me, they said, Ryan, from here on out, we're using you. Like, this other agent, when we went into the house, this agent, all they did was basically open the door and say, would you like to put an offer in? I'm not like that. I go in and I walk the house with you, and I tell you things. I point out things that I think are good or bad or whatnot as it relates to the house. Because at the end of the day, I want to make sure my clients are happy.
Right.
And it's funny, I tell them, so like these houses that we're putting offers on these days that are really, really good houses that I know is going to take a high sale price, appraisal gap coverage, an inspection cap, all of that stuff. I tell them, and I'd say this like probably 3 times. If you're putting your best foot forward and you're saying that let's say it's listed at 600,000, you're going to come in at, let's just say 700,000. You're going to do buyer will not ask seller to repair any one individual item that costs less than $5,000 to repair. And you're going to cover let's say $50,000 of the appraisal gap. I said, if we find out that we got the house, I want you to be ecstatic. If we find out that the inspection is pretty bad, and if the cap was $5,000 per item, and there's 10 items on there that are going to cost $4,500 that you're going to be responsible for, are you still going to be happy? And then if the appraisal comes back and you're going to have to bring that 50 grand to the table, are you still going to be happy? If you can say yes to all 3 of those, then I will submit this offer for you. But what I don't want to have happen is anywhere throughout this transaction, you would get buyer's remorse or be upset for some reason because it didn't go the way that you thought it would. Because when it comes to the appraisal gap, we don't know what that appraiser is going to appraise them at. We can get an idea, but at the end of the day, if you're saying that you're going to put $50,000 towards the gap, I tell my buyers, assume you're paying $50,000, but hope that I call you once the appraisal results are in and I tell you, we're good. We got it at sale price, it appraised at sale price, and we're good to go. So it's very important to me. I will lose sleep at night if I have any situations where I've got a buyer or a seller that's unhappy with any of the stuff that I've been doing for them. So that's one thing. That's one reason why I think I've been as successful as I have. It was because my authenticity. Like I really make you feel like you're part of my family. Like I mean, they say that, agents are almost like therapists, right? And my goodness, like we are. Like there's a lot that goes into it. I've helped a lot of divorce situations. I've got a relative of mine that I'm getting ready to help with the sale of his house, and he texted me the other day. He's like, you're not only my cousin, but you're also going to be my therapist and my realtor. So, you wear a lot of hats, but at the end of the day, for me, the happiness of my clients is way more important to me than the commission. Because at the end of the day, if I do a good job for you, what are you going to do?
Right.
You're going to call you, tell all your friends. Like I just sold my ex-wife's house. As crazy as that sounds, right? Like it was a kind of a nasty little situation, but it's been 7 years, so we're great now. But her and her husband are moving, and never thought I would have had that opportunity. But her husband called me up and said, talking to a couple other agents, but I want to obviously give you an opportunity to tell me what you think you can do as far as getting this house sold. And, I gave him my spiel, and next thing you know, we sold it for a lot more than they expected. And now he's going around telling my kids, he's like, your dad and I are like besties now. Right. So, but that's the thing. Like even somebody that, someone like that who I'm friends with now, and it's all great. At the end of the day, no matter if, who you are, I want you to feel like you're part of my family and know that I'm going to go to bat for you. Even though this market is still kind of crazy, I'm going to do all I can to keep you happy, to keep you as stress-free as possible. Because we know this is a very stressful industry for not only the agents, but also the buyers and the sellers. Because again, it's a stressful situation, and I'm here to just try and relieve as much stress as possible. So.
Yep. And Ryan, if somebody's listening to you talk right now and they're like, man, I have to work with this guy, how would they get a hold of you?
They're going to call me or text me at 317-701-0526. And if for some reason I don't answer right away or send you a text immediately back saying I'll call you in an hour or whatever, you could always email me. But 9.99 times out of 10, best way is via my cell phone.
Call or text is the best way.
Call or text, absolutely.
Get a hold of Ian or I can't speak. Ian or I, it's hardworkingmortgageguys.com. That's hardworkingmortgageguys.com, or you can call 317-672-1938. It's 317-672-1938.
All right, and now we'll get into the question of the week. And the question of the week is sponsored by, Rick and I, the Hardworking Mortgage Guys, where we believe in helping and supporting you and your realtor by sending constant updates throughout your whole entire loan process. Nobody likes to live in a black hole, so we don't allow it here. So the question, though, for you is, what was your first car?
Okay, my first car. I knew this was coming because I listened to this podcast so much. So as I mentioned earlier, I have an identical twin brother. So my twin and I, whose name is Brian, by the way. So you got Ryan and Brian, so you can imagine how my life for the last 45 years has been. We actually, when we turned 16, it was one of those Jeep Cherokees with like the wood paneling on the side, if you remember that.
Oh, yeah,
like,
sure.
Like 4 different shades of brown.
Yeah.
So that's what we had. We drove that together for the first, couple years. And, when you get your license, especially back then, it was, even now it's exciting, right? But I get my license and it's like my brother and I, my twin and I were arguing about whose house we get to drive it to. And it was like, you get the keys or, it was interesting, but no. So yeah, it was a Jeep Cherokee. I want to say it was probably like a 92, maybe a 93, but it was, and then after that I ended up getting a Blazer. Funny story. So I got a black Blazer and my brother Brian got a red Blazer. So it was one of those like, why doesn't Ryan have the red Blazer because Ryan in red, and Brian have the black Blazer because of Brian in black, right? So no, I had the black, he had the red. And then we drove those cars for years. And I'm not, I hate to say it, I'm not a huge car guy. Right now I've got a 2000.
That's it. We're done.
Right? No, the thing is I always wanted a Tahoe and I finally got one, but I've got a 2017 Tahoe right now that I love it. Now, mind you, I've got 3 kids, so I needed that third row. But the problem with my Tahoe is it doesn't have a trunk really at all. We just drove to Florida and I had to get a hitch and trailer for the back and all that. So, I've got a Tahoe right now that I absolutely love. And my hopes is that if I keep selling as much real estate as I have been lately, I'll hopefully be able to upgrade and get another one. But so
the longer one, the bigger one.
I think so. Yeah. But I hesitate because that's like driving a bus. I need it for like the space, don't get me wrong. But when we did drive to Florida for spring break and we put that trailer on the back, it's one of those that just kind of, you put like luggage on top of it. It was very helpful. So I'm like, I can just use this going forward. Yeah. So, I don't think I would get the extended cab one, but if I do go with another Tahoe, it'll probably just be similar to what I got now.
Well, just a warning. Cars are really expensive. Right
why do you think I'm not? Why do you think I'm stick with my 2017? Like it's got 85,000 miles on it, and
it's got a lot of.
It's got a lot of life left in it.
Over 100,000 miles of life.
Yeah, and I'm gonna probably run that till it's yeah.
Well, hold on. I don't judge a car off of miles off of a real estate agent. I'm sorry.
We do drive a lot. I mean, it's and that's the thing. I try and keep my geographic location, if you will. Like I said, I live in the West Carmel area. Most of my clients, I mean, as of late, have been Carmel, Zionsville, Westfield. Just did one in Meridian Kessler. I've never sold anything downtown, and I'm not mad about that, to be honest with you. I like the far north side. I mean, I've had deals over in Avon and Brownsburg, and I've never had any on the east side. I'll never turn down. Well, I don't want to say that. There's been situations where I've had referrals come to me with, whether it's east side or south side. And like I said earlier about me being a relational agent, wanting to do what's best for my clients or potential clients, there have been a couple situations where someone's asked me to help them find a home on like the south side or even list their home on the south side. And given that I don't know those areas too well, and the fact that it's a 30 to 45-minute drive, there have been a couple instances where I have actually referred that business to another agent, because at the end of the day, if there are agents that focus more on that area, and if they can help you better than I can and get to a house more quickly than I can, then that's what's in the best interest of that buyer, right? Or that, I mean, if it's a listing for that seller. But yeah, I try and stay, as far as driving goes within, I'll go wherever, don't get me wrong, you guys, but if it's to keep it in the best interest of my clients, if I feel like another agent could help them better than I can, because again, whether you're Carmel or you're Avon or you're Speedway or wherever, if houses are priced right and they show well and they're a good location, they're going to go pretty quick, and you have to act fast. So while I don't like to consider myself a Pop-Tart agent, have you guys heard of that before? No. Basically, somebody calls you, you get up and you go, right? Like you kind of have to take on that mentality a little bit in this market, because a house could be gone if you say, well, because the days of saying, well, I can't do it today, but I can meet you there on, in 2 days. Like you can't do that.
House is gone.
House will be gone, right? So I don't like to consider myself a Pop-Tart agent, but I will do whatever I can to get to that house as quickly as I can for those buyers, to put them in the best position possible to see it and then decide whether or not they want to put an offer on the table, right?
Right.
If somebody wants me to show them houses in Brownsburg or Avon, which is 30 minutes from my house, I might suggest that they work with another agent, because that agent might have more availability and be able to get them into a house quicker than I can. Because at the end of the day, my goal is to help you buy a home if you're a buyer, right? And if someone else can help you get to that dream more quickly than I can, then I'm going to do it. Right. Again, I don't want to be responsible for, oh, you didn't get me in the house quick enough, so we couldn't put an offer in. Like that would kill me. I would hate that. I would feel like I let somebody down. I'm a very loyal person, and I care very much so about people's dreams and what they want. And homeownership is a huge dream for everybody. So if I have to, pass that opportunity off to another agent that can better serve that client, then I'll do it.
Yeah.
And it put less miles on my car.
Yes, but it's always about the client, and it's obvious with you, it's that way. So what would you say your superpower or superpowers are?
I mean, it's a good one. I mean, for me, I think, and
he has a twin.
Yeah.
They can switch positions.
I mean, it's funny. I was at a showing the other day, and it was one of those situations where there was another agent in there. They were allowing overlapping showings, and the agent, she's like, "Brian?" I'm like, "No, that's my twin brother." But so I like everywhere I go, people think that I'm my brother at times. But
so you can be in two places at once.
I mean, I can.
That is
and he is a commercial. He is in real estate. So could he technically show a house? Possibly. I've never really thought of that. I don't think he would. But no. I as far as I think that one thing that I pride myself on, and a reason why so many agents aren't successful in this business, is because of their lack of communication. And that's an easy answer for you guys, but it goes such a long way. I mean, when I've had buyers or even people that have sold their house with another agent, but they're looking to, sell their next house. And I always ask them, like, what was it? What's the reason why you're not using your other agent? 9 times out of 10, it's lack of communication. So when I got into this business, I made sure that communication was going to be something that I prided myself on. Am I a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week, 365 agent? No. But at the same time, I kind of am. And I'm sure there's going to be a lot of listeners out there like, Ryan, like, but at the end of the day, in the market that we're in, you kind of have to be readily accessible to all your clients, right? So it's funny. When I started dating my fiance 3 years ago or so, I set that expectation up front. I said, listen, like, I'm in residential real estate. There's going to be times where we're out to dinner and, look, we were just at a tasting for our wedding 2 days ago at the tasting. And I had to get up from the table like 3 times because I had to take a call about an offer that I had on the table. We were competing against one other buyer for the house. But I told her on the way, I'm like, babe, like there's a chance I'm gonna have to get up from this table. I'm like, I know that's not ideal, but she gets it. She understands. Like she knows that there's going to be times where it's slower. I mean, our business is cyclical, right? So there's times where you don't have much going on at all. Like literally, like you can go from, for the first few months of this year, I had one transaction at 400,000. In the last month and a half, I'm at 3.7 million. So like you go from being not too busy, like, and having a lot of time, with your family and friends to, I have to step out during the most important tasting of my fiance's life. And I know she's rolling her eyes at me, but she gets it. Right. Yeah. So I'd say, to answer your question, communication, like I pride myself on it, and it's something that will never change. Like the fact that I can't respond to people's text messages right now is killing me. But at the end of the day, but I also will say, you guys, like if I'm in a listing, I don't even like to call them presentations, but if I'm meeting with a seller or I'm showing a house, I don't ever want them to think like my phone or another client is more important to them. So I will hold off on responding when I'm sitting here talking to them, like at the table or whatever. But if there's a moment where I, go to the restroom or something, you can believe that I will text them and say, hey, I'm at a showing or whatever. I'll call you or text you or whatnot in 30 minutes. So that they at least know that I got their message and I'm going to respond to them. And you're not, because guys, there's been times where I've heard of agents that don't get back to you for like 24 hours. Like what in the world is going, like that doesn't make any sense to me. I know agents can get busy, but I also know that agents want it to sound like they're really busy when they're not. Let's be honest.
Yep.
So
I do have to just let you know, even had to step away from the tasting, your opinion didn't matter. Just so you know. It was all about what she wanted.
Well, and that's, it's funny that you say that. Like I said to her, when we left, I said, Megan, like, it's what you want. Like, I'll throw my 2 cents in, but at the end of the day, because it's her first wedding, it's my second. It's not my first rodeo, right? So even though I want this to be as special for her as possible, and it's her day, it's our day. But at the end of the day, if you want the chicken over the steak, then get the chicken. It's fine. At the end of the day, I just want people to come together, have a good time, celebrate us, and leave the wedding and the next day say that was a lot of fun. That's all I care about. People having fun. It's kind of like with real estate. Yeah. I care about what people think about the business that I do for them. And at the end of the day, but yeah, it's Megan's decision. I'll show up on the day of.
Yep. Hey, all right. Before I get into your most memorable deal, but just remember, he will not be available August 12th. He will be busy that day, people.
Yeah. But you say that and I'm just sitting here like,
your phone's going to be lit up.
I'm going to be, and that's the thing. They always say that when realtors go on vacation, that's when they get the busiest.
Yes.
Or when I go, like when I'm going to South Carolina next week for a wedding next Thursday through Sunday. And I've got, 5 pending deals right now. Go figure, it's going to be extremely busy. And if I was checking my phone during my wedding, I think my fiance would have something to say about that.
I would not recommend it.
No, I'm not. I'll probably I'll keep my phone in like the groom's room or whatever. Yeah.
All right. So what would you consider one of your most memorable deals?
There's been a lot of good ones. I'll tell you 2. One of them is just a quick story. The other one's a little bit more fun and whatnot. But when I first got in the business, I reached out to, I was reaching out to everybody, and a friend of mine who I didn't grow up with her kids, but I used to coach her girls in soccer when I played at Butler. And I had known them for years, and her mom had lived, and the girls grew up in this house. And she had reached back out to me and said, yeah, I'm thinking about selling at some point. Her husband had just recently passed away. So that was like a year and a half or so, maybe even 2 years after I'd reached out to her. And then finally she reached out to me again. She's like, all right, I think there was a little bit, from a financial standpoint, there was a little bit of hardship, a little bit of struggle. And I remember going over to her house, and, her house there wasn't much to it. It was in East Carmel. She had one chair in the family room that she sat on to watch TV. She had her bed up in the primary, and that was really it. So there wasn't much to it, but it was a dated house, but it was in East Carmel. So I knew it would sell. And, long story short, you guys, she couldn't believe that I was going to sell it for what I told her I'd be able to sell it for. And I'll never forget when we got to when we got the offer, sold it for cash, way more than she thought. It literally changed her life from a financial standpoint. It went from her being like, eating like ramen noodles at night to, like just being able to do what she wants, and share, some of the proceeds that she got with her grandkids and whatnot. So she was like crying very, very hard at the closing table because she was just so happy, and she never thought anyone would ever want to buy her house. Proved it wrong. I said, at the end of the day, like, I'll put you in the best position possible to get you the most money for your house for the quickest sale and make this as easy as possible. No, Ron, you won't be able to sell this thing. Look at it. There's this wrong with, there's that. Let me take it from here. And I did it. I did what I said I was going to do. And it was a great moment because you have the ability to help change somebody's life from a financial standpoint. So that was a good one in that standpoint. But the one that's the most probably memorable, this was in 2020. Like I said, I started in 2019. So I was like a year in the business. I have one of my best friends, was moving back here from Chicago, and they had a pretty hefty budget, and, sent them some houses. And I sent them one house that I didn't think that they would like because it's a 15,000 square foot home, and it's just the two of them. They're two young kids, and at the time they just had one small dog. Now they have a bigger one. 15,000 square foot house. It's been on the market for 2 years. A lot of it didn't show that well. I was pretty surprised when I went into it and saw it, because for a $2 million house, if I was going to list a $2 million house, I wouldn't have plastic fruit on the kitchen. Like, you wouldn't? No, I don't think so. I would spend some money. So it just didn't show that well, right? But it had been sitting on the market for 2 years, and the owner of it is related to, and I won't say names, but a very well-known NFL football coach here in town. So my buyers were all about it. I was like kind of surprised because, again, it's 15,000 square foot. It's a big house. And we went and saw it. They loved it. It was listed at a certain amount when we were started the conversation. We put an offer. There was some negotiating going back and forth, and we ended up getting it. There was 6 HVAC units in this house, of which I got all of them replaced, was able to get all of them replaced for my buyers. It was like $85,000, $90,000 worth of repairs that we got done for these buyers. And they were ecstatic. But the memorable part about it, given the fact that I'd only been doing this for a year, so I'm like, I can't, $1 million plus house, and there's the size of the house with the inspection, how's that going to play out? It all went very well, but knowing that I was kind of negotiating against this NFL owner was kind of cool. Like, I'm like, we're going to offer you this. He's like, no, we're going to counter at this. And I'm like, no, we're going to offer this, blah, blah, blah. So just saying that I was negotiating against a billionaire was it's one I'll never forget. Yep. So,
but you have a ton of experience outside of real estate that got, it's one of the things I thought when you were telling us about you've been in real estate for 4 years, you've done very well. So you've got a lot of experience. 4 years is part of it. The amount of houses that you've sold and worked with and all that is another, but your experience, you have a lot of life experience beforehand, which makes a huge difference. Yeah. But we are running out of time. So how would somebody get a hold of you if they had any real estate needs?
Via my cell phone, 317-701-0526. Text or call is the best way to do it. But there's also my email at ryan.foxworthy@talktotucker.com.
And to get a hold of Ian or I, it's hardworkingmortgageguys.com. That's hardworkingmortgageguys.com. I can't speak. 317-672-1938, 317-672-1938. And if you Follow us for more Indy's Real Estate Gurus.
And reminder, if you know any friends, family, or coworkers looking to buy, sell, refinance, contact us. We'll be more than happy to help you.
Branch NMLS number 33041. Rick Rittman's NMLS number 664589. Ian Arnold's NMLS number is 1995469. Equal housing opportunity. Some restrictions apply.